More than 2 decades after the law was changed, an independent review has been launched into the impact of the pre-2000 ban on homosexual personnel in the military. The government wants to learn more about the effect the ban has had on veterans, especially those who were dismissed because of their sexuality. It's part of the wider Veterans Strategy Action Plan, as Charlotte Banks reports.
Everything that I'd ever hoped and dreamed, all my aspirations career-wise, I just saw them all just disappearing in a puff of smoke.
I had to hide from the Special Investigation Branch of the Royal Military Police because if I'd been caught in 1995, I would have been sent to prison.
I was eventually given a date, so that's it, you're out. I was essentially on the street. There was no care.
They've waited 22 years for the chance to tell their story. While the ban on homosexuals serving in the armed forces was lifted in the year 2000, the government has just announced an independent review into the impact of that ban on the thousands who were dismissed for their sexuality or had to hide who they really were. Craig Jones joined the Royal Navy in 1989.
It was incredibly stressful. In the late 1990s, I was the deputy navigator of the aircraft carrier HMS Invincible. And every time I brought that ship into port, I was looking on the jetty to see if there were policemen there. So it put you under immense stress.
It's an all too common picture. Around the same time, Kevin Baisley was an officer in the RAF until one day, coming off a sortie, he was met by his commanding officer and marched away.
It was that humiliation as well of being walked off the aircraft past all of my colleagues, them all wondering what's going on, and being interviewed under caution, being suspended. And then obviously there was the financial aspects of it. I went from being a very well-paid flight lieutenant aircrew to effectively nothing for a while whilst I retrained.
Tremaine Cornish was also dismissed for being gay in 1977 when he was serving as a private in the army.
My life had been taken away. I had joined the army to become my new family, and then I was kicked out on the street, persona non grata, and I was on my own.
An independent chair for the review will be appointed to gather testimony from veterans like these, affected by the ban across the decades.
And then they'll bring that back to government in a form of not only description of the scale of the injustice, but also with some recommendations, and then we'll consider that.
It's a dark chapter in the MOD, and they deserve an apology, which they've had. And they deserve this review, which should look at what the wider cost was to them and their lives. And that review will make recommendations that we here in the MOD will take very seriously indeed.
LGBT plus veterans say they need more support in areas like mental health and housing. With careers destroyed overnight, the losses were huge.
Compensation. It's due. If we treat people like this, they must be compensated. They need their pensions looking at again. And actually, they need a formal apology on behalf of the nation.
Just a simple letter to everybody, formally recognising the mistakes that were made, giving that apology, formally stating any criminal record or so on has been expunged from their record. You know, it's not within the wit of man to be able to do those kind of things.
The government hopes the review will go some way to righting the wrongs of the past. LGBT plus veterans say the damage can never be fully repaired. Charlotte Banks, Forces News.